Diego Leon is about to be announced and then unveiled as a new Manchester United player. In fact, by the time this video is uploaded, it may have already happened. That's how close this deal is, so I thought today we would take a look at the young man's skill set and also his tactical fit in Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3, because if the young man's words are anything to go by, he is planning on being a first team player. So in the past 24 hours, Diego Leon has made it clear he wants to fight for a spot in the first team, and in terms of the spot he would be fighting for, it is the left wing back position. And the reason for that, the reason why he fits this quite nicely, is because he is one of those players who isn't quite defensive enough to actually play as a fullback. You know, he's quite attack minded, but he's not necessarily creative enough or got good enough end product to be a proper winger. So he ends up in this position sort of in between where he is a wing back. However, just because he is a wingback, that doesn't mean he is restricted to playing just on the touchline. In fact, he actually likes to come inside fairly regularly into these positions and to almost play as an inverted wingback at times. Now, from these positions, he's not a deep-lying playmaker. He's not someone like Zinchenko at Arsenal, for example, who used to play left-back, move into midfield and dictate the game from there. He's not that sort of player, although he is still quite capable of his passing range. I've been really impressed with his forward passing in particular, and especially his long forward clipped passing, which he is able to sort of show off from these positions. And we've got a couple of examples of this. If I can find the clip, here we go. You can see him in this position here, and if we just pay attention to the context, he's really central. Really central. You know, this isn't someone who in this moment is flying forward, you know, bombing forward like a proper wingback. He's actually tucked inside the pitch, and from this position I think his passing range is pretty good. He strikes the ball very well. He hits the ball hard and true. The connection is good. He always strikes the ball well, and it makes him quite a good passer in these positions. Got another example here. Granted, a little bit wider here, almost a bit more like a traditional fullback, but again, he's got time, so he's looking to get his head up, and when he does that, his switches of play are very good. Again, the ball striking is good, and he's a good passer. Now, whilst Diego Leon can pass the ball from these deeper positions, and you know, he does like to move the ball forward, his actual preferred method of ball progression is to pick the ball up, be confident, and carry the ball himself. He likes to take responsibility. He is one of those players who likes to make an impact, he likes to make a difference, and a lot of the time that is going to come from looking to carry the ball forward. And it's no different in the middle. We'll see shortly how he likes to do it out wide, but he also likes to do it in the middle of the pitch. So yes, he can invert and he can be a passer, he can play it short, he can play it long. He's not a deep-lying playmaker from this position. He wants to drive forward, he wants to be aggressive, he wants to commit players, he wants to take on the opposition and drive forward through the heart of the pitch for his team. And, you know, that aggression, that ball-carrying ability, sort of is really reflective of his personality. He's got a lot of personality when he plays. And what I mean by that is, again, it's the character. It's the fact that he wants to take responsibility. He demands the ball, even though he's so young, so young. He demands the ball and wants to take people on in these positions, which for a fullback is important because fullbacks aren't necessarily always used to operating in these inside positions, right? They're used to playing a little bit wider. But for Leon, this isn't a problem. He is happy to play with this little bit of extra width. If I move over to the right clip this time, in these positions here, you can see when he's picking the ball up in midfield in these positions, he's still confident here. He doesn't have to be wide. He can pick the ball up and he can drive, and he wants to do that. He could play the ball off, for example, here, but he doesn't want to. He wants to take people on, and again, that shows the character and the relationship he has with the football. He wants the football, which sounds a daft thing to say for a professional footballer, but not all players actively want lots of touches, whereas Diego Leon does. He wants to pick the ball up in these positions, sometimes turn down the opportunity to pass, because he wants to take responsibility himself, he wants to pick the ball up, and he wants to go at people, and honestly, he's quite effective when doing so. So Diego Leon is a wing-back, but he's a confident player that is also happy to move inside the pitch to show off his technical traits there. However, for me, he's at his best when he plays a little bit wider. So it's great that he's got tactical versatility and flexibility. It's great that he can do both, but I think he's better when he's playing out wide. I think it suits his confrontational style. Now, when I say confrontational style, I'm not talking about running about the pitch trying to uppercut people. I'm talking about wanting to, again, take responsibility and wanting to take people on. And this is where I feel that he's a little bit different to Patrick Dorgu. When Dorgu picks up the ball in these situations, he likes to be a passer. He likes to move the ball and combine with teammates to progress the ball forward. Leon, what he's going to do a little bit more is take the player on himself. So he can combine. We've seen already he can pass a football. But actually what he really wants to do, again, is just be confrontational. He wants to square defenders up and take them on. And this is where he's almost not even a fullback, really. It's why he's definitely a wing-back, bordering on being a winger. He's so attack minded, it is insane. He will put the ball at risk sometimes because he wants to be expressive, because he wants to take people on, but it makes him potentially really effective for this wing back position. And you can see this here, and this is what I'm talking about with being confrontational. When he picks the ball up, you know, this is a typical situation where as a fullback, you would have probably played the ball fairly safe. You'd move it into midfield or onto a winger or into a central position. But he doesn't want to. He wants to actively take the people on himself. This time he sticks the ball through the opponent's leg, which is always good to watch. But he wants to be so aggressive. This isn't a fullback. This isn't a fullback by nature. He wants to pick the ball up in these positions. He knows where the space is ahead of him. And he just wants to attack that space. And what I would say is, as he moves to Manchester United and plays in the academy perhaps, or goes out on loan or moves to the first team, what I would say is, yes, we need to nurture him. Yes, we need to, you know, help him pick his moments of when to carry and when to pass. But I would say, don't take this away from him, because he's really, really good. And having a player that is so confident, wants to express himself, wants to take control of the ball, is an excellent thing to have. So yes, we need to teach him sort of when to do these things, but I wouldn't take it out of his game. I don't think you take this away from him, because for me, this physicality, this speed, this confidence on the ball is what makes him so unique. Now, I hinted there at sort of the speed and the physicality, which we haven't really spoken about too much just yet, but this man is an athlete. He is an athletic young individual. His running numbers are very similar to some of the most athletic, powerful fullbacks in the Premier League last season. You know, this guy is no joke. He gets up and down that pitch ridiculously well. He's quick, right? He's quick. Not the absolute quickest in the world, but the boy can move. But what's more impressive for me is the engine and the fact that he can repeatedly do it, repetitive runs down the left-hand side. And, you know, it is that relentless nature. And in terms of off the ball, that makes him a massive, massive threat. If there is space in behind and you've got someone on the ball who can play a pass, perhaps Bruno Fernandes, you know, Leon can find the space. He will attack the space. Again, relentlessly. He wants to run into these positions, and he's so direct with his movement. But what I like is the variety. On this occasion, a good finish. So that last run was out wide, you know, down the line. But on the next occasion, he actually sees the space inside the pitch. You know, this is where the space is. But again, he chooses to be aggressive. He drives into that space, and again, actually finishes with a really good goal. But the big point is, particularly playing as a wing-back, where we know that United create overloads out wide, if we can move the ball from one side to the other with relative speed, we do tend to get moments where we have a spare player. If Leon can be that spare man in a few seasons' time, perhaps, then that aggressive mindset, the fact that he wants to take people on, but also that he just wants to bomb into this space, again, is why this signing makes a lot of sense to me. Of course, there are question marks over his development, the sort of player that he's going to become over the next few years. But I think that, again, that versatility, I can see why United want him, and I can see why United want him for Amorim. You know, the fact that he can bomb down the line into these spaces, he can overlap, he can fly forward into the space, but also that he can underlap as well. We know sometimes that the inside forward, whether that be Cunha or Garnacho last season, would move into this wider position. Leon can then go into that underlapping space. He can make that forward run. He can even box crash. You know, when the ball is on the far side of the pitch, perhaps with Ahmad or Mount or Mbeumo if he signs, Leon can box crash from the far side. And again, that's something that we've perhaps lacked in the past 8 months or so, right? You know, since Amorim has come in, we've seen Dorgu at wing-back, we've seen Mazraoui, we've seen Dalot. They're not properly, truly aggressive players with their movement in the final third. Leon is, and again, that's why this idea makes sense, because he brings a lot of intensity, a lot of athleticism, but also an attacking desire, a technical ability, a confidence and a responsibility on the ball. He's just ticking so many boxes of what you like to see in a youngster. The only problem for me, really, with the young man is the technical consistency. In some moments, the passing is really nice, as we've seen already with the ball striking, and he is more than capable of shooting, chipping in with goals, and also with crossing. But that isn't consistent. It's not reliable yet. This is where he is still a little bit raw, with sometimes simple details, playing simple passes. 4-yard passes are just going to go wrong when they shouldn't be going wrong. His crossing into the penalty area can be really good, but can also be really quite poor. It's inconsistent. He sort of scuffs it and it'll go behind for a goal kick from a really good position. Now, that's not too much of a concern. He's a very, very young player, so we're not expecting the finished article yet. You know, I think you guys watching this video, signing Leon, we know that we're not getting a world beater right now, but perhaps in a few years he could be. I think the profile that he's got currently is really nice, particularly from a physical standpoint. And I think that profile alone gives him a great opportunity in his career to become a special wing-back player. Combine that with the mindset he seems to have, the confidence, the fact that he wants to be confrontational, he wants to take people on, he's aggressive, and the technical traits look like they could be there if he's sort of nurtured and coached and developed in the right way. That's why we've signed Diego Leon. It's why he makes sense for the system. Now it's about either loaning him out, which we could do, but what I would do personally is leave him in the academy for 6 months and sort of readdress it in January. Let him settle in a new country. Let him settle in Manchester, right? In the Manchester United environment. Perhaps give him a chance or two in pre-season. Is there going to be a Carabao Cup game where he could get some minutes? Possibly. And then if in January he needs a loan once he's settled, sure, let's do that. If he needs to stay in the academy for 6 months longer, let's do that. Or if, like he said he's going to, he's broken into the first team, then, well, that's just perfect, right? Because we've got ourselves a squad player for a very, very cheap fee. So I like the idea of this signing. We don't know how it's going to work. It's a bit of a gamble when you sign a young player from a foreign country, but the risk is minimized by the low fee. The fact that I don't think there's too much pressure on him straight away. So I think let him enjoy his football, see how he does, help him with his development, and basically just enjoy the next few years of watching how this young man could shape himself as a footballer into what could be actually quite a unique player profile, which to me is always pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next few years for him. But in terms of right now, I don't think there's much more to talk about until we see him actually playing for United, either in pre-season or at academy level. So we are going to wrap the video up there. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and get notifications on. 65% of viewers aren't subscribed, which is just mental. So please subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.